Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Elizabeth's Atelier. Today I thought it would be fun to go back and look at my old art and see how I feel about it after almost 3 years. Real fast, I started doing digital art about 3 years ago, January of 2023. That was when I got my first digital tablet, which I still have, and I started doing digital art, completely self-taught, and I feel like I've improved quite a bit, even though it's only been 3 years. So yeah, I think it's fun to go back and look at your old art and see how much you've improved, because the only person to compare yourself to is yourself, right? Don't compare yourself to others. So I went through my Instagram, scrolled all the way to the bottom to my very first few posts from 2023. And then I have, I think, 1 or 2 from 2024, but like earlier in the year. Okay, so this first one is my year of the rabbit art that I made. This was made in January of 2023, so one of my very first attempts at making an actual digital art piece. So, and at the time I was very proud of it. And honestly, even now, I really like how I drew the rabbit, because I was still getting used to drawing on a tablet, whereas if you do digital art, you know, like there's a learning curve. Like it's not the same as drawing on paper, at least at first. I was very happy with how he came out, considering that I was still getting used to it. And I forget even how I colored him and shaded him, but I think it was probably all on one layer, and I didn't know clipping masks, I didn't know anything. I also didn't know you could change the setting of the layer to like multiply for shading or overlay for highlight. I didn't know any of that, so it is all just normal colors, so which how you would do in like traditional pieces. So, and then I really enjoyed doing the lanterns too. I think they came out really well, and yeah, I still love this piece, even though it is old and a little rusty, but I would rate this one, honestly, probably a 7, maybe an 8 out of 10, because it's cute and simple, and I love it. Okay, this next one actually is a sketch from much more long ago than 2 years, or 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. I feel like I did it in high school, honestly. I think I did. So it's probably more like 10 years old. So it's just a little drawing I did of Sia, but like in a cartoon kind of format. And then in the background, I put little lyrics from her different songs. So yeah, it was just a caricature. This was the type of stuff I drew in school. I would just, especially in middle school, I would just draw on the backs of worksheets and just fill the entire page while the teachers were talking. So that was my pastime. That was what I did. So I think this was definitely from that era. So yeah, I really love this one still. I think it looks really good, like considering I never studied anything, even though she totally doesn't have ears, but it's okay. I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10 because I still love it. Oh, okay, this next one, one of the first humans that I attempted drawing on, like digitally. And I had this character in mind named Ganja Girl, and which is funny because I don't even like weed, so I'm not a pothead by any means. It doesn't get along with me, so but I just had this idea for this character, so I decided to draw her digitally, and you can tell that I had not studied anatomy at this point. Her face is way bigger than the back of her head, and just like the proportions just don't look quite right. Once again, I think I still had no idea that multiply existed, and textures was still not a thing, so there's not a lot of depth going on. And then the background, I'm pretty sure I took it off of Pinterest and just slapped it on the back and called it a day. So yeah, I feel like this one, in my brain, it looked better, but execution-wise, I would give it a 4 out of 10. It's not terrible, but it's definitely has not aged well. Alright, next one is my little Yule priestess. So I did this in December of 2023. This was when I actually started learning more about digital art. So I think I joined a couple Patreons, and so this was when I first discovered that you can change the layer settings. Took me almost a year to figure that out. So I did that. I also found the filters. So I blurred the background because I could. It was the first time I had ever tried it out, and I was amazed. Like, this whole world had opened up for me. So yeah, I feel like I did pretty good with her as a character. Honestly, I should probably redraw her at some point. I've considered it like multiple times. Like, when Christmas comes around, I'm just like, I should redraw my Yule priestess, but I have yet to do so. So I like her design. I do think the little fireball she's holding is a little weird, especially considering that her hands are covered in frostbite. I still like how she came out, so I'm going to give her a 9 out of 10. Alright, next one I made right about the same time. This was when I discovered the Draw This in Your Style challenge on Instagram. So I joined one, and I don't know how to say the person's username, but I will put it somewhere on the screen. So I joined this one as my very first entry into a drawing challenge. And honestly, okay, this one I also really like. I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely like some technique stuff that needs to be, like, it could use some like updated changes. Like, if I were to draw this now, it would look pretty different. But I feel like for my skill set, it looks pretty good at that time, at least. So I'm probably gonna give it 7 out of 10. Alright, my next one, my little Kraken boy. So I lived in Washington State for 2 years, and for like the last previous 2 years, I was in Washington like pretty much the entire time I was discovering digital art. The hockey team there is the Krakens, and I started thinking about, like, what if I drew, because I was getting into like humanoid character design. So I was like, I like the idea of like mythology, and so I was like, what if I drew a Kraken, but I did it more of like a merman style. So I ended up with this little half human, half octopus character, and he's holding a hockey stick and a hockey puck that have the colors of the Kraken. I don't even watch sports either. I just thought it was funny, so I decided to draw him. And I actually did a redraw of this one a few months ago. Actually, it was 2 years to the day that I finished it. And this is my new one. This is my updated 2026 version of him, so you can directly see the improvement. Honestly, this one, my old one, I'm gonna give him 6 out of 10 because I was still struggling a little bit with anatomy. I think specifically like male anatomy, just because I hadn't like studied it quite as much. So he looks a little off, like angle wise is not quite right, and then I feel like his face needs some help. So, but yeah, that is my Kraken 1.0. All right, next one is actually from 2024. So this was my first year that I did mermaid, and I decided to draw the 3 fates from Greek mythology as mermaids. So that is what this became. And this was, I think, my first time doing 3 characters in one piece. And honestly, I love how it came out. I feel like the line weight could have been adjusted a little bit more to make it even better. And then I feel like the colors could have been adjusted as well. But overall, I really like it. And I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. Okay, this is the last one that I'm going to be reviewing. So this is my Luna Moth girl. I was super proud of this drawing when I first made it. I was like, this is the best drawing I've ever made. So I still feel that, like, I've definitely made like better artworks, if you will, like in my mind since, but I think definitely from a year ago or 2 years ago, I forget what year it is. I think it does look pretty good, and I love how I did her face especially. I think she looks very, I was trying to get like kind of a moth looking, like a fairy thing going on. I don't know, but still trying to make her look relatively normal. Yeah, I just feel like the line weight, once again, like I could have adjusted that, and then I was still like figuring out texture brushes and like making texture on clothing and stuff. So yeah, but I think I did a good job with the background. Like you can clearly tell she's in this misty forest. I'm gonna give her a 8 out of 10. All right, well, that is my little review of my old art. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it inspires you too, if you're an artist, to go back and look at your old artworks and just remind yourself how far you've come, especially if you sometimes struggle with comparison, like when you see other people's art and then comparing it to your own. It can be pretty disheartening and uninspiring to do that. And it's also not fair to you if you're doing that, because they're on a completely different journey than you are. But if you go back and compare your old artworks to now and you see how much you've improved, it really is like, okay, I am improving, I am doing better, and I'm learning more, and you can really appreciate the process of learning and growing. So thanks for watching, and I'm trying to get more drawing videos up here, so working on that, but I just thought this would be a fun little video to do. So if you liked it, please comment, subscribe, like, do all of the YouTube things.